Yeah, I think what's important is to kind of take a step back and understand what motivation is. So it's, a drive to want to do something. And it's not just about the quality of motivation, which is what you've just talked about, high motivation. The quantity of motivation, but it's very much about the quality of motivation. So you can have a lot of motivation, but the quality of that motivation might not be very high. You might be doing something for not necessarily the best of reasons, or it's you doing something for someone else rather than for yourself. So when we're talking about the quality of motivation, it's quality, it's kind of motivation that comes from you. It's autonomous motivation, we call that, rather than controlled motivation. So you're not driven by things like, well, if I don't do this, I feel guilty, which is actually quite a controlled type of motivation and not particularly helpful because you're not necessarily doing it because of enjoyment. So what we really want to work towards is having, of course, high levels of motivation, but high levels of good quality motivation where you understand your reasons for doing something, and that those reasons for doing something come from you and not from, doing it for external reasons, doing it because you want to compare yourself to others on Strava. And like it's supposed to be an easy run, but because one of your mates on Strava did this particular split time, you then suddenly forget that you were going to do this easy run. You kind of want to show that you are at the same standard as that person. Obviously, that's very controlled and not necessarily high levels of kind of motivation. So it's taking that step back, reflecting on what are your reasons for doing something. And, if you are, let's say, training for, London Marathon, I think it might be back in April this year. Not quite sure when the timings are for the coming year. But you might be training for that, and you might be training for a particular time, but also very process oriented in terms of, gaining strength, understanding your pacing better. Then obviously it makes it much easier to then stick to those training sessions because you understand your reason for doing that. And that's something that you control rather than other people.